So my first question to you is going to be, you've served over a span of 39 years from 1983 to 2022. Over the decades, how have you seen the role of women officers in the army change?
The role of women officers in the army, the tasks given are the same as to their male counterparts. There is no differentiation between the tasking and the missions. And I will say the women officers have to prove themselves 3 times over. Firstly, they have to prove in our society, which is a male-dominated society, especially in rural India, from where our troops come, from where our Jawans come. Now, in the body of troops in a company or a battalion, a woman officer has to establish herself as a leader, whereas her male counterpart is a established leader or commander by virtue of his having got commission. Now here, she has to establish herself amongst the men who have never seen a woman as a leader. That is one. Second is, she has to prove herself to the family which had all the apprehensions when she wanted to join the army. There are a lot of people, a lot of things which are said, and so she has a chance to prove to them also. And lastly, she has to prove to the society, which is always judging a woman at any time, at every place. And having had personally served with the women officers at various ranks, especially after my colonel's rank, I will say at times they perform better than their male counterparts. And in my book also, I've given some instances where they are committed to the core, like a wife or a lady in the house. She's looking after so many things and yet not visible. Similarly, a woman officer has an eye for detail, she has an eye for perfection, and she has total commitment and dedication to the cause. They are doing a great job in the army.
So in fact, I was just going to ask you, after the 2020 Supreme Court ruling that gave permanent commission to women officers, do you think it has now opened a path, a passage to change the psyche in the institution, in the armed forces institution? Now they really have to look at it from a different angle?
Absolutely. If a woman can, run a household, if a woman can run a state, if a woman can run a country, why not a battalion or a regiment? And in any case, selection procedure in the army is very, very stringent for the male officers as well as for the women officers. Anyone who is selected amongst the total course mates of theirs to command a battalion or a regiment is actually the top notch. So similarly, the women officer will be selected on merit, and as they perform in their command, they would go up in the hierarchy and the rank. And equal opportunities have to be given because they are equal officers.
So after, when we saw during Operation Sindoor, we saw 2 women officers come out and address press briefings, time and again. And that really had an impact on everyone who was watching in the country as well. Do you from here see the role of women officers transform further in the future in the armed forces?
See, Operation Sindoor's briefings by the 2 women officers, one from the army, one from the officer, was, very, very indicative of the whole operation. Because in Pahalgam, the Pakistani terrorists gunned down the husbands, the brothers, the fathers of the women in front of their eyes. And as Prime Minister appropriately named the operation as Operation Sindoor. So it was a very, very good message to be conveyed where women officers were briefing. And they are not less than anyone. Let me be very clear about it. They are not less than anyone. And as we evolve as a society, as militaries and technologies are more and more becoming relevant in the military also, the role of women officers, especially in the technical arms, is going to increase manifold.
There's a community of the armed forces that we don't talk about often, that is the military wives. I want to talk to you about you and ma'am in particular. In the 39 years that you've served, and you've served a lot in counterinsurgency areas of Kashmir, how have you seen ma'am change and embrace all of those instances, those years with you as a military wife?
I came from a civil background. My father is a civil engineer. And I married a girl who also came from a civil background. But when we got married and we joined the battalion, 4th Battalion, the Rajputana Rifles, there is a family there. A lot of people outside the military do not know the family in the military, which is your Paltan, which is your unit, your senior, your peers, the ladies of senior officers, they groom you, they mold you, they chisel you, they mentor you. They, even today, my first commanding officer calls me at times and says, Tiny, I saw you on TV. This is not the way you say these things, this is the way you say it. In today's world where your own grandchild will not listen to you, a 63-year-old man listens to 85-year-old man, and with thanks, because his only vision is to make me a better human being. So similarly, when we got newly married and we joined the unit, everything was, as if we are being tutored, we are being led. And she has done a wonderful job as a married army officer's wife. And I can speak for all the army officers' wives here. They, control, they move the household when the man of the house is on the borders, he's doing his duty. And the most important thing is they do not disturb him. They do not pick up the phone every 20 minutes and say, "Bachche ke marks kam aaye hain, the tap is leaking or the milk has not been delivered today." She manages all these things herself. She manages the children's education. She manages the household. She manages logistics. She manages all the bill payments and other things. These days, bill payments are online. Earlier days, you had to literally go and stand in a queue. So military wives have done all those things without even questioning one. And that is where it is very important to understand what drives the soldier. And the lady of the house drives the soldier to the hilt. She doesn't complain. She looks after in-laws. She looks after children. She looks after all the family affairs, marriages and other things. And the villages, she even looks after the livestock, gai, bhans and all. So she is a multifaceted person and with a smile. That's most important.
I remember, so you once mentioned an incident where ma'am got a call not once but twice. In fact, she found out a false news of your death. What were those moments like, and what was your first interaction with ma'am after she realized that no, this is actually false news?
Actually, both the times. First time I was a major. It's of 99 Kargil days. The mobiles were not there. So she read the ticker on the TV screen. Major KJ Singh, Rashtriya Rifles, killed in Lolab. All the things were accurate. My name was accurate, my regiment was accurate, and my location was accurate. And she was 8 months pregnant at that time. And she just held herself the whole night. In the morning, she hid the newspapers so that her old parents don't see it. That is a commitment towards the parents also. Like I said, she looks after parents, in-laws and all. And ultimately the news came that it was a mistaken identity. Second time I was a commanding officer. This is very important. I was a commanding officer in Kashmir, and she was staying in a place called Chobatiya near Ranikhet, where all the families of our unit, Jawans' families, JCOs and officers' families were staying in the rear location of the battalion. And she read the news at 11:30 in the night on the TV, Colonel KJ Singh killed in J&K. Now she has a 8-year-old son, 3-year-old daughter in her lap, and the whole night she's thinking, how will I live my life? How will I, grow up my children? But she is also a commanding officer's wife. And commanding officer's wife has added responsibilities, जिम्मेवारियां और होती हैं, to be seen as a firm figure. And whole night she is just thinking about these things. Morning 6 o'clock, she gets up, she washes her face, she combs her hair, she changes into a decent dress. And now she is ready to face the ladies who would come and, trying to console her. But the point is, in our society, it is acceptable when a lady has lost her husband not to have combed hair or not to be, having washed her face. But she did it. She washed her face, she combed her hair, she changed into a decent dress because as a commanding officer's wife, she did not want to be seen as a shattered woman. That is the responsibility. That is jimmewari. That is commitment. She doesn't get paid. She doesn't wear uniform. She doesn't come under Army Act. But she has a commitment to the job what her husband is doing. And this is the story of each and every military wife. They are force behind the forces.
In fact, that's what I wanted to ask you. You must have seen ma'am's role really change from a young officer's wife to then a senior officer's wife, like you mentioned in your commanding position. How has that change been for ma'am? Because you mentioned she's also from a civilian background. So this is a massive, a completely different world to be a part of. How did ma'am change in those 39 years?
You know, change in 39 years, firstly, is to understand the military life, understand your husband's responsibilities, understand how the Jawans or the soldiers who mostly come from rural India, they have different needs. Their families have different ideas or aspirations. To meet them, to guide them, to be with them like an elder sister or a peer. So all these things over the years has changed her life. And like you asked me, how did she feel when I asked her next morning when the lines got through, second time. When I asked her, how did you feel? When you came to know that news is not true. You know what her answer was? Kisi ne to khoya hai. Someone has lost her husband, someone has lost her son, someone has lost her brother, someone has lost her father. This can only happen if she has been with those families, been with the soldiers, and having seen their pain and their way they live. So we become a very homogeneous family. My family in the military is more homogeneous than my family, biological family. We are ready to lay down our lives for each other. For nation, yes, definitely, anytime. For mission, yes, anytime. But for each other, camaraderie, again, anytime. That is the family life in the military.
Indeed, it's something that's very hard for somebody outside the fraternity to even imagine. But as you said, it's one big family. Before I let you go, sir, there's a question I've been wanting to ask. Women officers, like, we talked, there's so much changing, especially the entire image that we saw after Operation Sindoor. For any young women, any young girls from big towns and from small towns and from villages who are now looking at these officers and they now have a dream to join the armed forces, what would your advice and your message be to these young girls?
Single line advice. You are no less than anyone else. You have proved yourself by passing the exam. You have proved yourself by passing the SSB. You have proved yourself by doing the young officers course. And now you are an officer, become a leader of men. You are no less than anyone else. In capitals, anyone else. You are the best. Just go out there, serve the nation, make your family proud, make your parents proud, make your regiment proud, make your unit proud. That is the answer.